I'd now like to ask Diane Matar to come up, and she'll be talking about a regional assessment in North African Biosphere Reserves.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a PhD candidate, and I'm doing my research on management effectiveness evaluation of biosphere reserves, the UNESCO Biosphere Reserves, in the whole Arab region. But today I will be presenting part of my results, which are on North Africa, and which were conducted with, in collaboration with the IUCN Mediterranean Office. So how did I decide to do this research initially? First, I identified the need for such a research by looking into the global study assessment, or the compilation of assessments globally that was done by Dr. Leverington and colleagues. And here I identified that there is a lack of information on management effectiveness in the North African and Arab region in general. Out of 14 biosphere reserves, actually there was only 7 had a comprehensive socioeconomic assessment through the Governance of Biodiversity study, and 9 had conducted periodic reviews, which are the requirement of UNESCO. But still there was a lot of room for improving the status of assessments in that region. Second, the IUCN Mediterranean Office had also identified the need to improve the implementation of the Biosphere Reserve type of protected area in the region, and that's why I found value in conducting such a research. So what would be the contribution for such a research? Well, that has been, I think, already talked about at length within this stream. You are all familiar with the fact that such assessments are contributing to the obligation by the Convention on Biological Diversity to cover 60% of protected areas in terms of assessments. It also will help reach the ISHI target 11, and I would like just to pinpoint that the recent Global Biodiversity Outlook 2014 and other midterm evaluations have re-emphasized the need for management effectiveness as part of the ISHI target 11 requirements. So, moreover, at the technical level, we are still lacking a lot of standardization for the biosphere reserve type of protected areas in terms of evaluation, and hence I thought that my research could also bring in some standard indicators that could be more adapted to including buffer zone functions and transition zones functions. Finally, at the practical level, of course, it will help apply adaptive management in North Africa and also help develop action plans. Many methods have been used for the overall research, and one of them is the survey. The survey is basically the method used for quantitative analysis. What I've done is develop 65 indicators using 3 main frameworks. The first one is the common reporting format, which includes 33 headline indicators. I've added one more, which is the third function of biosphere reserves, which is education, research, and monitoring, and developed sub-indicators within these headlines based on the WCPA framework. I've also used adaptive management indicators and biosphere reserve specificities. So respondents were biosphere reserve representatives, and they were asked to score themselves from 1 to 10 on each of the indicators. The participants I got a high response rate, and basically with the help of the IUCN Mediterranean Office, and we had 13 out of 14 biosphere reserves participate from North Africa. In terms of results, Well, one of the important findings was that most of them, 78%, have scored in the basic range, which is not bad, I would say, compared to the global distribution of management effectiveness. And none of them was in the clearly inadequate, which is good news. And 11% only were in the sound range, which shows some room for improvement. And this is just also a small comparison with the global and the Arab region. In general, and I put here into quotes that North Africa scored so a little bit higher than global study and a little bit lower than the Arab region. This is not a statistical statement, it's just kind of a benchmark to give a picture of the situation. When I looked into different aspects of management and actually which aspects are doing better than others, I found that the planning type of indicators were doing the best with the highest score, and the lowest were inputs. So I just want to pinpoint here that if you've seen the global study results, it's kind of reflecting the same. Just to say that it seems that inputs is a global problem. So we are lacking resources, we're lacking funding and other staff and other type of resources, and that helps us identify priorities for actions. Finally, what does this all say about how well are we doing conservation of our species? So just to answer this question better, I looked at correlations, which mean which of the indicators were actually most best predictors of the outcome of conservation of values. And interestingly, I found out that the output indicators were the most likely linked to conservation of values. So in that area, if achievement of set work program and results and outputs were produced, that was more likely better conservation. What's next? The next phase of my research would be to look into, to ground truth these results, because of course statistics have their limitations as well. Subjectivity in analysis, in self-assessment also can reduce the credibility of results. So I'm going to try to ground truth that with case studies from the ground, and also try to put things into context and come up with recommendations that could be used for adaptive management in the region. I just want to invite you to my poster there at the booth when we finish this session. I have some good chocolate.
Thanks very much for that, Diane. I think there's a number of messages that reinforces there coming out of the Congress as a whole, and that is the fact that we really do need to move towards creating a step change in support for protected areas, in the resourcing of protected areas, so that they can deliver on the promise that they offer for the world. So I think the results of the management effectiveness evaluations can be used to create the environment in which we can argue for that sort of step change and let protected areas really deliver on their promise.